Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lethal Sales. We are so glad you're here. Tonight's topic is what does employee retention or how does employee retention affect customer retention? Is there a connection? And if so, how does that work? And Larry, what do you say?
Well, I think it's the key to everything. The dealership I'm working at this week was a guy who I was referred to years ago, and I've done nothing but do work with him since. It's so much easier to deal with people you know that were referred to you, that you were involved in, and it's a little frightening that more salespeople and certainly more management teams don't understand that you have to nurture people and keep them in the fold. By the way, we've got a new gentleman on the line. When you get to it, William, why don't you tell everybody what you do and how you do it? You're allowed to plug yourself on the show. The only thing we don't stand for is 9-minute speeches. But tell us who you are, what you do.
Oh, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out too. What the hell?
For anybody
let
who
Mike do it.
doesn't know,
You don't want that, William.
William was brought to the show courtesy of Mike Larkin. He told us before we were on air that he met Mike in prison. Mike didn't do anything wrong. He just started talking to a cop and said, "I can't take it anymore. I'm locking up." It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. William?
That's
All I gotta say to that is spy cam, Larry. Spy cam.
William, tell us what you're doing, and thank you so much for joining us.
I'm a frontline salesperson currently for a dealer group in West Virginia. And so I've been doing this for 16 years, and you're spot on. Clients, not customers, is a motto I go by quite often. Customers, they come and go. A client is someone who does repeat and referral business with you. That's the way I look at it. If you're going to cultivate clients, you have to start turning these customers over and making them allies, friends, basically family. So
William, I wrote a book called Inner Moron Demons, and if you don't mind, I'm going to quote myself. They're not annoyances, they're annuities. It's astonishing that the attitude of a lot of salespeople is good. I sold them, let me get them the hell out of here and avoid them as long as I can. But when you continue to make service appointments for people, when you remind them on their birthday, when you send out handwritten notes on the holidays, you're just so far ahead of the pack. I mean, we're getting more and more automated and less involved with human beings. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, when you can go into the community and cultivate a client base from perfect strangers, that is how you grow a business, and that's how you retain that business. So if you're a business and you're retaining your employees to retain more customers, it just makes perfect sense. Keep your employees happy, and you'll keep your customers happy in the long run.
Yep. We're right back to we got a lot of religious folks on this line, and they will all agree that servant management is the way. I always quote that Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. If we nurture people, we'll get things back. It's an exponential growth thing. Tony, I know sometimes you have to head to a meeting right after the show. Would you like to jump in with some thoughts, my friend? You know we value your opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I would say I have a question on this retention deal. I'm rolling up on 37 years in the business. And I wonder if from the sales department perspective, there's a sweet spot that is a sweet spot for tenure. Oftentimes you think, oh, if a salesperson's been there a long time, they must be good for the business. But I've worked with some veterans that have been there 15, 20 years, and they're still average salespeople with average attitudes. And so I guess I would push a question back to the group is there a sweet spot? Should we have a showroom floor full of 20-year veterans, 15-year veterans? I've often said the way you get to how do you make a salesperson a 10-year veteran? You keep them for 10 years. But what is that sweet spot? Jeff?
So one of my clients, who somebody knows is a training organization, it's like 3 years. And, they ask their clients who are dealers to say, at 2.5 years, why isn't the sales manager or the GM walking around with a list in his pocket of those people that are 2.5 years and going to find them? Because I think if they stay 2.5 years, they're going to stay 5, or longer. And I think that's really, and Doug may have some additional input on this, but I think that's really where the sweet spot is. And it's funny because, as some of you know, on the program here, I bought a new Lexus for my wife a month ago, and shopped all the dealers in Colorado, and went back to the dealership where I bought my car from, who was my first choice, but ended up having to be my last just because of inventory. And I was just looking on their website to see if I even saw the salesperson, who was the rook, because I talked to the sales manager and he just handed the deal to this kid to deliver, but I guess he's gone. I never heard from him after that. I don't see him on their website.
But is it a correlation between you being in there as a customer and him quitting?
It could be, man. I always train him when I talk to him, so I'm interviewing everybody in the dealership, and
I think, to honestly answer your question, Tony, from my viewpoint, whatever the hell that's worth. Hold on, it's Peter Smith. Hey, Peter, we're on the show. What's happening, my buddy? You're trying to get in? Please let Peter in. He's trying to get in.
No, keep him out.
Oh.
Can we vote? Can we vote?
No voting. No voting.
And we were having such a good show. And this was going so well.
I know. I'm sad. I think the sweet spot really can't be defined, Tony, by years. I think it has to be defined by the person. I worked at one dealership from 1988 to 2012. And in the interim, I became the top salesman, and I wound up being a partner at the dealership. I also saw a lot of driftwood wherever I go, people that, like you said, have been there way too long. But I don't know that you want to quantify it by the years. I think it's more personal.
Larry, can you welcome my friend Robert Mancha?
Absolutely. Robert, how are you, sir?
Long time since he's been with. Oh, and he's gone. There he is.
Just get my
Robert, how are you, sir?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Robert.
Robert, two things. One, thank you so much for joining us. Two, if we took a vote, the last guy in has to buy the pizza. We will send you a bill.
Hey, well, Robert also,
the last guy in.
Robert also can make an announcement now that it's official on
Go
some
ahead.
updates in his life.
Yeah, actually, I just came to the end of hey, thanks, Jeff. I just came to the end of a journey. As you all know, when we connected last, I was in the beginning stages of building a consulting business, which didn't take off very well because timing-wise, it literally started in May, and I am now on board with Dominion DMS. So corporate America called me back in. Yeah.
And you'll do fabulous there.
Thank you.
Looks like we got Michael Barich around too. Michael, I hear that you're restarting the Everything Fixed Ops that David Long was involved in on Wednesdays. I'll catch up as soon as I'm not chained to a dealership. What's happening with you, Michael, if you can talk?
It was off the charts, I can tell you that. It was phenomenal.
It was good.
Yeah.
Would it shock you? I mean, who knows more about fixed ops than him? And he skips all the bull and gets right to the heart of the matter.
That's exactly what he did today.
Good. Looks like he's tied up or can't speak. I'm just going right to left.
No, I'm here.
There you go. Hey,
Come
Michael.
on, brother, bring it.
I missed the question.
The question was, how important, it's kind of a moot point. We're just discussing it to flesh it out. How important is retention of your staff? How does that equivocate to retention of your customers? And obviously, it can't be any more important. because we get tied into certain people, and if they stay in touch with us, it just continues to grow and move forward.
Yeah, I think on the fixed ops side, it's critical.
Mm-hmm.
That one little caveat I'll share with you tonight that nobody gets. The customer wants to come back and see you if you provided a great experience for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is he talking? Because I think he's in the Matrix.
He could be. He's been in the Matrix all day. So, as you see, he's gone now. So,
Michael, if you come back, just jump right in with you. How about our boy Doug Reeves? Doug?
I'm sorry.
Oh, Michael's back.
No, I'm having
things.
connectivity issues.
Well, then go ahead, Mike.
Michael, you're muted.
Intentionally, I'm having some connectivity issues again. I'm so sorry, everybody.
No problem at all.
I'd love to answer the question, but I don't want to keep you in the dark. So, Doug, go ahead, buddy.
Well, this brings up an awful lot of things, but it was funny. I had a conversation today with a dealership that is going to be migrating over to the one-person sales model, and they reached out to our company to get them there. And the thing that came to my mind as I thought about this today was when you have tenured staff that trusts the management, and that's the key, that they've earned the trust. Making a change for the better of the customer experience, for the better of the overall dealership operations is a lot easier because they trust the leadership and they trust their judgment. And in this particular store, that is
He's too close to Michael.
You got another one again, yeah.
And it's trust.
And they're all eagerly willing to do a one-person sales model.
It's trust in both ways.
I think it is trust. Yeah, it is. It is. And when you ask the question about tenured staff, I don't care how long the staff's been there, as long as they're always empowered and developed. When you see the staff getting stale, it's because they're not doing anything with them. So I think it all starts, and Peter knows this as well as anybody, it all starts with culture and leadership. But if you've got that, you've got a staff that's willing to make the changes to make things better, to ultimately lead to better customer retention.
Oh, absolutely. So, and we talk about this all the time. There's a couple things that I looked at for the purposes of retention is having a foundation. We have to have that foundation in the dealership. It's often said you can't build a building on sand. Mm-hmm. You have to have something really, really strong to build upon. And typically that foundation is either one of two things. It's either process or culture. And that leads to the people being involved, because the people will flock to culture and process because they know that, and we see it all the time. They go on Indeed, look on Indeed and see what some dealerships have as star ratings. Mm-hmm. 2.1, 2.1, 1.8, and there's right off the bat there's no structure, there's no foundation. And it's a reciprocal turning door that it works not only just at the bottom level, but you see it at the top level as well.
Well, and I think that Jeff brought up a really good word, trust. When you see dealerships that are thriving, management trusts the staff enough that they'll empower them to do more. They're not holding anything back. They're not hiding anything from them. And trust breeds stability.
Absolutely. And that, again, it's empowerment. Like if you can empower your staff, and that's why when I talk with you so often about the one price strategy, the one person model, is is that empowerment that you're giving your team. And we've talked about training new people into that. It's where are we going to start? Where do we start at it? How do we change the new dimension? Because the public is asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you in a position where the person you're dealing with is like, how would you say, they're just in a position where they have to get up all the time to ask.
Yes, exactly right. So they're limited in what they can perform. So they're limited in what they can deliver. And the fact is that, and certainly we see this in one person stores, as you empower the sales team to do more, guess what? Managers can now do more. They can attend to things that they just can't get to now. And it just makes everything better.
And Doug, the number one complaint at dealerships from customers has always been it takes too long. So
Yep.
if you've got one person instead of shuttling through 9 different departments, that's going to make things more expedient.
And there comes your retention.
And the last thing, and I'm going to throw this one out at Tony because I know it's going to put a smile on Tony's face because this is something that happens quite often, is the trust in the brand that you represent. And you can't have a brand that is breaking down. You can't have a brand that has recall after recall after recall. You can't have a brand that you have no faith in, because at that point you're not going to have a retention of staff, because nobody, and I don't care who it is, nobody wants to field complaints 24 hours a day.
Auto Chrysler dealers, Larry, your friend.
Yep.
Handling that.
Buddy Ron Baus. No.
But well, hey, I sold Hyundais back in the 80s and early 90s, and man, felt like you're going to work every day to fight with customers over the problems.
Yeah. How about that?
Work to do that. Yeah.
How about that Hyundai Excel? It was not fuel injected. It was carbureted. Mike Larkin, a fat guy on a bicycle, could beat you going uphill in that car. I don't think I've ever been in a slower car in my life.
Yeah.
Mike, we haven't heard from Michael or my boy Russell Hill or Jason Reed. Whoever wants to go first, your thoughts on retention of salespeople equating to retention of customers, please.
I did the whole Clubhouse show the other week on loyalty and retention, and it's ever paramount in our business and our industry today. It leads to profit. It leads to customer relationships. And as we move to a relationship business, as we always should have been, nowadays more than ever, that relationship is what's going to come back and pay dividends in the future. I mean, we talk about with insurance companies or insurance business, we always look for residual-based income. Okay? That's income that's coming in yearly because you're going back to that client on a yearly basis and you're building up that relationship and you're adding new employees, new insurance business, life insurance, health insurance, whatever it would be. That's exactly the same thing we're attempting to do here in the car business, is have residual-based income, to build those relationships to where you are the only place, the only person that they want to go to because of the value that you bring into your brand and into your company. That is where loyalty is built, and that's where loyalty will pay dividends to the customer as well as to the dealership moving forward. You have got to have loyalty if you expect to survive. You can only tap a pool or a well of customers so deep before you run out of things. You run out of people. There's only so many people moving into your area. There's only so many people that can badmouth you before the well dries up at that point. You've got to change the way you act. You got to change the way that you reciprocate your business into your employees. The profitability that's been shared by the people in the ivory tower has been great, but now it's time to put it back into where it belongs. The people that earned you the right to have that share, and to help them along the way, and to give them the tools necessary to build their brand, build your brand, and to further your profit. But thinking about things with these short-sighted mindsets of, like I mentioned, looking at data analytics, you look at one small statement and all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. We gotta make a big change. We gotta change the market. We gotta change this. We gotta change everything. You had one bad month. You had one bad deal. That doesn't dictate having massive change over such one small, simple decision. stick to the facts, stick to the foundation, stick to the process that we know has been true, has always pointed north. And at that point, yes, if time over time it continues to fail, then yes, change it, but don't change it over one decision. 1 month doesn't dictate a win or a loss in this business. However, we have all been weary of losing our jobs at the end of 1 month of a bad month, or we're always on a month-to-month basis. Employees in this business should never feel like that, in my opinion. If you do have your employees that feel in that aspect, you're not doing your job. You're not giving them what they want. And at that point, you have no loyalty, you have no respect. And I feel sorry for him.
A guy told me a long time ago, if you're not buying any cars at a loss, then you're not buying enough cars. And if you're not willing to take some risks and move yourself forward, you're going to stymie yourself. And if you're in a position of leadership, you're going to stymie everybody. It looks like Russell wants to jump on Mike, and then let's hear from our boy, Mike Larkin.
Well, a lot of great stuff here, man. My mind has gone so many different places. I think the best, okay. Speed of the pack set by the leader. Hiring people the right way. Slow to hire, quick to fire. We've all heard that. Hiring people the right way, and then have an onboarding process that is like second to none. Onboarding is going to be critical. And all these, it's all about the client, the customer, the guest. Everything is about that. We all know that if you got a good culture in the store and you got happy employees, etc., that you're probably going to have happy customers, clients, or guests, service everywhere, right? That's pretty much known. My question is, how in the hell do you get there? I think I know, but I'm asking a question because the greatest predictor of future behavior is their previous behavior. So if I watch somebody for the last 30 days and I see the results and how the culture is at the store, I don't give a shit who you are. The next 30 days are going to be the same way. There might be some, little things that pop up that maybe, set a different tempo for a day, but how do you consistently get that? What does it take to do that? How far outside of your comfort zone are you willing to go? And it's not with the employees, it's with the freaking management team. It starts there and it ends there, and it's up to them. And so how does that happen? Because I'm telling you right now, there's only 3 things that are going to dictate a different tomorrow: what you read, what you listen to, and who you associate with. If you don't input something new, it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be overnight. But if you're focusing on those 3 things and inputting your information, associate with people that keep you excited and get you motivated and love you and care for you and want to see you be successful and stuff like that, that's going to resonate in your behavior. And it's not overnight. It takes a little time because honestly, successful people do daily what average people just do occasionally. And that's pretty much the end of it. We're going to be, I was talking about this same stuff in 1985. We're talking about it in 2024. Same shit over and over again, regurgitated. Now I am seeing things change. I am because of people like you that I associate with, that are talking and bringing this stuff to light. And there's little increments that people are getting, leaders are getting, etc. And there's a new kind of culture out there that's not a number, but it still boils down to, if people know, it's cliche, but there's a lot of truth to cliches. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People need to understand they count, they matter, they make a difference, and they're part of something bigger unto themselves. And if they feel like that, that's going to be pretty damn good. But where does that come from? Because the people that have all the information are at the bottom. The people that make the decisions don't even have the information that the people at the bottom have the information on. And somehow or another, that's not getting to the top. And I don't know. Anyway, that kind of woke me up. And so that's what was going on in my mind as I was listening to all of you, because things are starting to change. There is a slow shift. This is a big animal, and it's not going to happen overnight. But all of you, in your own way that I've gotten to know, champion just this kind of change. And that's what's making a difference. One person at a time, one day at a time, instead of people saying, well, it's not my problem. No, I don't even know where to begin. It all begins with me. And then it begins with you, right?
Jump in, Tony. Looks like you're ready to walk into your meeting. So jump in.
Can't hear you.
Good. I'm good. I just thought I'd get outside here and relax for a couple of minutes before I go inside.
Yeah. But if you have anything to say before you got into your meeting, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'll hold my peace.
Hey, Russell, I think to your query, I think what we need to do is set expectations for people, help them realize those expectations, but be honest, because it's amazing how many things we don't measure at a dealership. You know,
I'm guilty too. You know,
well, we all are, but I like when I train, I give guys charts of weekly and monthly where they can measure out how many people they're talking to, how many demos, um, how many walkarounds, and more importantly, how many repeat referral customers they're picking up. Because we all know that's the key to making money, to building a career, to making sure you're not sitting around on a Saturday praying somebody comes in. But if we don't have those expectations set, we can't have frank conversations with people. You know, we all know it. A really nice guy manager will let you go broke. A manager that's a little bit of a hard ass is going to make your life better because he's made for sure guide you to be more successful. Mike Larkin, haven't heard from you yet, my buddy.
Right. Hey, during this whole conversation, everybody has been awesome. And I took a piece of paper and I folded it in half. And on one side of the piece of paper, I wrote investing. And the other side of the piece of paper, I wrote paying/spending. And underneath that, are you investing your time? Or are you spending your time?
mm-hmm.
Are you investing in your people? Or are you paying or spending and wasting away your people? Are you investing in attention on who is trying to mentor you? Are you not paying attention? And it all leads down to value and trust. And if the customer who's putting food on your table can't trust you, then it's the beginning of the end. You might as well plan and invest on closing your doors, because your community has to have some semblance of trust. And that comes from, hey, who's your car guy? You know, or car gal. I mean, that trust is based on the bottom level for the employee. And once they get that trust, again, William can attest to this. You have clients and you have customers. What's the difference? And that is a huge difference between one and the other. That, you know, but you're focusing on your clients who are going to bring you their family members because you're the guy. I got a dentist. He's the guy that fixes my teeth. I got a doctor who keeps me upright. And I got a car guy who takes care of my car. There's only a certain amount of people that you trust in this world to take care of their specialties. And you got a car guy, you got a car girl. If not, then kind of you're lost when something happens to your car.
Mike, on that note, it's only the trusted advisor that gets to that level. It's not the salesperson. It's not the peddler. It's not even the brand consultant. It's the trusted advisor, and that's less than 5% of the people out there. And that's the challenge. And that's where the turnover rates come into play, that you have increasingly, well, it was 46% across the board in automotive last year. Now, what's it in variable? Variable is insane. If it's not 100% in variable, I'd be surprised. Absolutely surprised. Larry's loving it because Larry's buying his third property this month because of the turnover.
I couldn't agree more. If you're not happy with your job, please quit immediately and tell all your people to quit. Career Changers USA, here we are.
Yeah, it's truly it's madness, and I wrote a article just recently about the madness of the business, and my good friend Jason said it was my Jerry Maguire moment, that I was picking up my goldfish and leaving the office and saying, "Who's with me?" Because it's really at that point in time, it's let's wake up. And And I was luckily enough, one of my colleagues out there, Daryl Steed, turned around and said, "Hey, let's start a Zoom call on feather ruffling. Let's ruffle the feathers. Let's get it stirred up because it needs to be done." And I'm the guy that says, "Yeah, I'll jump on that bandwagon all day long," because you have to really Einstein's theory of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We, as the car business, we move at a glacier pace, and we don't like change. That's why the favorite saying in the car business is, "This is the way we've always done it." And whenever we get into a structure that there's force pushed on us, we revert back to what we are comfortable with. We don't want that change. We don't want AI. We don't want this. We don't want that, but it's coming. And it's coming and you can't stop it. And all the dinosaurs and David Spizak and I had a conversation, and one of the things I said to him was, the meteor has hit the earth. The dinosaurs don't know it yet. And Spizak's response was, "And where are the dinosaurs? They're extinct." And that was his response. And it's going to happen. If we don't understand what's going on, we'll never change to stop the madness.
I want to jump in for a second here. They do exist. They have short arms and big mouths. Just saying.
I'd like to hear Robert's input, and then I have some thoughts.
Where is Rob?
I'm right here. Sorry, I was on mute. Guys, kind of like you, Mike. I've been writing down some notes and just keywords that I'm really kind of stick out of my mind. It really is age old. And Peter, to kind of what you were saying, I've had this theory along the way that I've generated, like most of us here through decades in the automotive sector. And that is that there's a short-sightedness to dealerships. The approach, the strategy, the business plan. Walking into a dealership and asking a dealer, "Hey, can I see your business plan?" Right? A 5-year business plan, a 3-year business plan. There's really no such thing. It'd be really kind of funny to put it in this context. It'd be funny in an anomaly for a store to have that. They would be a front runner in that discussion. It always boils down to a 30-month business plan. And I used to refer to it as a spotlight, the flashlight effect, because at the end of the month, the first thing we do is review our results. And we shine the spotlight on those areas where we did good, push that aside, and those areas that need to be addressed, and we need to bring those numbers up. What arguably happens the next month is those areas that we did well in will probably be offset by the focus and interest in those areas that we fell short in. So it's just a 30-day cyclical strategy, using that term loosely, that dealerships operate in. And it's not to really pick on them for that. It's a business model that basically it's the way we've always done it. And I think as we introduce more and more technologies, more and more support, like the team that I see here, in trying to really educate dealers and operators to say, you're not building, you're getting by. COVID was the best and the worst thing to happen to this industry, because in one moment, it literally helped to progress the industry in terms of digital marketing and the understanding of, hey, we really need to change. And yet, in the midst of that, the very thing that was in-house, for instance, the sales process, if you will, right? Easy one to identify. It went away. We had people who no longer understood what sales was, automotive retail is, the process. And it became pick up the phone, tell them what you're selling it for, with the addendum, you don't like it, goodbye.
Next.
But guess what? That time is over. And no, those people are struggling is at a dealership without process because they've never done it. So now they're struggling. The dealers are struggling. And I'm thinking with the people that are on this call and the attitude, this is what's going to help deliver dealerships from their current set of problems. And it was brought on by themselves. We really need to get to a place where we're building something. It's not just for this 30-day cycle. It's for the future within our community. So I sound long-winded, but
Mike used the word trust a few times, and I'm a very visual thinker. And I think there's three conduits in the sales process. There's trust between the manager and the staff, both ways. That's two conduits. And then the customer's trust, right? And if any one of those falters, we got a faulty model, and it's, call it the ideal combination and the perfect world. But man, we got to keep grabbing for that ring, because we got to have those three tenets on those three legs on our stool, or it's not going to stand up.
Not beating up any managers, Jeff, but I think a lot of managers have manageritis. They forgot that the definition of what they do is to manage, is to help people grow and be better and support them. I just don't see that many managers pulling guys into the office and saying, "Hey, man, I got your back. Anything wrong?" Or, "Wow, what a great job you did. Let's explore that to see what we can do better." A lot of people don't feel comfortable with their management team and definitely don't trust them. And man, that's an ugly breakdown when you're rolling through that way.
Larry, if we would change.
If I make this a quick question for Larry. So as the automotive industry runs through its cycles, and we've all seen a lot of them over time, right? Who's sitting in those management positions, and what's their tenure, and how did they come up?
Because he's the best salesman that they had.
It's the Peter principle, Robert. They find somebody that's good at one thing and naturally assume they'll be good at everything, and that's not the case.
We know that.
I know a lot of fabulous managers that were terrible salespeople because those attributes are different. And I know a lot of great salespeople that became managers, and it was their demise because they're different sets of skills. You got to really be empathetic as a salesman, but you have to be more empathetic as a manager, because you're not only trying to sustain the business and move it forward, but you have to get into your salesman's head so they can get into your customer's head. So it's like a multi-point, of attack.
I had a previous life with Marine Max, who is the AutoNation in the marine business. Their number one salesperson is a guy out of Clearwater, Florida, been there over 20 years. And, I'm sure the guy's knocking down $1.5 million probably. And they had to be standing in line the first 5 years that he was on board saying, "Man, we need to make you a manager." And he resisted, and he kicks ass at what he does now as a salesperson. So, everybody's not cut out just because you're a good salesperson to be a manager. And I think a lot of dealers fail to see that because they just, that in their minds, the dealer owner wants more and he wants to promote a guy and keep him. But another thing, kind of off subject, but I know that's a hot button for Peter too. Buy them some damn business cards their first week. You know what? If you see your name on a card and the business, Larry, I would guess there's some kind of mental attachment that I'm part of the team now, instead of we'll see where you are in 30 days and let you know.
Jeff, here's how right you are. I always carry business cards with me, and I have my business card on my phone so I can text it or hand a card to somebody. I sent out a good crew from Nissan Fortuito of Limerick, PA, to Mystery Shop. And I guarantee you, none of them are going to get a card up front. Some are going to get them at the end, and some are going to get them when they ask for it. It's the wrong habit to get into. But what's scarier is not having cards, not having identification. From day one, they should be handing out cards and letting people know, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I do it. You're completely right.
I have a novel idea. Take your sales managers every 6-9 months, put them back on the floor for 2 weeks. Make them go back on the floor, sell cars, put them back on the service drive, make them the service advisor, put them back on the front lines so they don't forget where they came from. They don't forget the process. They don't forget the vulnerability that you have as a sales associate. And it makes them really realize, again, the struggles that they've gone through. I'll tell you the fact that I was a salesperson, got brought up to management. Things happened, and I ended up moving stores, got back down to a salesperson, got brought back up to a sales manager. Like those different positions that I've held, every time that I've gotten knocked down and come back up, I've come back up stronger and, with more appreciation and more of a realization of like, okay, this is how I've got to attack this. This is how I've got to attack that. Just because I think some sales managers that get a little long in the tooth get too comfortable or too, with their position, and they forget because they're too far removed from current things that are going on in the dealership, and they don't realize things that are going down. They go right through the bottom. I mean,
Jason, your idea and your theory is flawed seriously, and the reason it is, you're comparing yourself to other managers. I know you a little bit, and I know that you got a solid ego. You're a good guy, and you're a team player. But does anybody disagree with me that if you made a manager go back to the sales floor, his thought would be, oh, they're going to fire me. What the hell's going on here? And you might destabilize the sales force because whatever little level of authority is perceived, it could go out the window.
GoDaddy has everything you need. Choose from a range of code-free tools and get a complete online presence.
All right.
William, your voice has changed.
That wasn't me.
That was me. That was me. Sorry.
So wait a minute. So now you're late, and now we have to hear strange voices over the phone. I don't know.
Just checking out a website.
We've talked before on this platform. Every teenager should work in the food business at some point while they're growing up, because they'll have a better appreciation for the rest of their life and what they need to do. I was watching a podcast this week for fixed ops, and a BDC manager said, you know what? When our store hires a new service writer, they spend 2 weeks in the BDC before they can get out on the drive. What a great concept, because now they have a better idea. And, I'm not going to hate those people. I know what they're fighting, and to your point, Jason, it was a great one, man. Everybody should work every position for 2 days, when they're hired. So they've got a better feel for the battles everybody's fighting, because, most of them, you get hired, you get put out on the floor. Well, man, I don't care about those parts, guys. Service, okay. I'm focused on my little myopic world and to make sales, because that's what my manager's hammering me for.
That's how flawed their thinking is, because it's symbiotic. One department feeds the other. And if one department drops the ball, everybody suffers. That's why sales service meetings are so important. I told you a while back, Jeff, I had a contest at my store, and we split everybody up into teams, but not salespeople. One team was salespeople, parts, body shop, and service. The other team was, and the third team was. And all of a sudden, people that didn't know each other, maybe didn't even like each other, locked in.
So I got a question. William.
Yeah.
What's your position in your dealership?
Salesperson.
In your dealership, and answer it if you wish, do you have a mandated amount of sales calls that you have to make a day?
No.
Okay. Do you have a mandated amount of touches you have to make a month?
No.
What's the culture like in your dealership?
Well, that might be a little bit trickier to answer, but I will just say it like this. I was actually going to interject earlier to say, how many people in this discussion, because we're talking about different positional things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people identify with in this business.
Sure,
is the position.
Yep.
Have we ever thought about, the career path talk? if you're hiring in and you're bringing in a green pea person, never sold a car before in their life.
Yep.
Do you have a discussion with them about where they want to take their career from there, or is it just a job, just over broke to fill a position and have somebody there that can be there from 5 to 8 or whatever it is, the closing hour or whatever, because you've got a vacancy on the slot, right? It's you can fill a roster on a football team, right? But you have a starting lineup and you've got your bench players, and you got to warm up your bench too.
Yep.
So if you're gonna do all that, you get your starters involved and you start talking to the people that are coming up, and you have to groom them up. And a lot of times these new hires that are coming in these days are not getting those conversations. And so
Agreed.
You might have a veteran person that's been there for 10 years or more that probably ought to be getting the conversation spoken to them about whether to move them up into a management type of role, but they're too easy of a forecast with their sales numbers. So it's easier to promote somebody who has more lackluster abilities. And then you're misaligning the whole thing. So are you looking at hybrid positions at all? Or are you talking about hybrid job qualifications? Like, if you've got to do this particular task, you've got 3 or 4 guys on the team that have shown their ability to handle that type of thing. So they gave them that access, where someone who is a little newer, maybe they've got to work up to that. So eventually these people are in a way being groomed for management or a higher position. They're being challenged at the same time, which I think is what happens a lot of the time in this business. Is the challenge goes away. And when you're not being challenged anymore, you're not growing. It's like muscle atrophy. If you're not lifting the weights and increasing that weight incrementally from time to time, your strength goes down, right? You're going to stagnate where you're at. If you want to build somebody up, you got to stack a little weight on top of it. So, not every dealership is doing that. I don't know of a single one right now in my local market that actually does that.
Yeah. How about most?
Yeah. Hey, my buddy Ron Baus.
Larry, I saw Ron's pet. I don't think he lives in Ohio.
No, for sure. Ron Baus, jump in. The only reason I want to get Ron in is when he's done, he has to unload a bunch of electric Jeeps that Chrysler is kind enough to send.
Oh no!
I survived another week.
Something to be said for survival, my buddy. Ronnie, we're talking about what should be a moot point, but isn't. That if you retain your salespeople, you retain your staff, it's going to automatically help you retain customers. And your thoughts, sir?
Get a call coming in. Sorry. No, I'm good.
Go ahead.
So repeat that again. Just I want to make sure I answer this correctly. So
we're debating what should be a given, that retaining your staff, your salespeople, is going to help you retain your customers, and not just the front end.
Sure.
The same thing with service.
Correct. So yes, and we have a lot of as far as my staff and with sales, a lot of guys that are 5 years plus as sales guys. In fact, we just hired a new salesperson today. Younger guy, a little better versed on social media than us. And I'm also very conscientious that even me as as a dealer, just anytime I see him, make him feel welcome, and embraced. But because part of the allure of hiring him was he has like 20,000 Instagram followers. And so we're trying to, kind of merge into a little bit of like where this guy should be, reaching out for customers through social media and stuff like that. As far as the tenure guys, the guys that have been there a long time, their customers and, which are our customers, and we're a small store. Like I know a lot of the same faces. So yes, it's very important. And we have, customers that will come in and specifically ask for, a certain salesperson or, whatever. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think my guys do the best in follow-up. They have all the tools. They have the best tools today versus 20 some years ago. You have the CRM tools to tell you when a birthday is, like if you really wanted to, in my opinion, is to really just make the difference. You store all these notes so that when it's somebody's birthday, somebody's anniversary, it's their kid's birthday. Like you can go to a dollar store and get a freaking Matchbox for $1.25 and send it to somebody. And like what we fail to realize, in my opinion, is the way that we make a customer feel. And I think so for example, I'll give you an example of the way my office is set up. Larry, I think you've seen my office. So I have all these cars on the wall. So what I noticed was, and I always keep my door open. I don't like to work behind closed doors. I like to be just, open. So I would have little kids, just their eyes would light up when they see them. So what I did was I just started going to the dollar store and I started looking for every kind of little Matchbox Dodge because I want to promote my car or the Jeeps or whatever the case is. So when a little kid comes in, I'm like, oh, what do you think? And oh, it's so cool. And it's funny, the parents are like, we're so sorry. I'm like, no, that's fine. I said, in fact, while he's here, and I give him a Matchbox. So the kid is like, wow, and I really sometimes the behaviors that I know and understand, I kind of wish that my staff would embrace that, to understand that, because it's those little things that make them keep coming back. And I was just having this conversation, we're problem solvers. Okay. The customer comes in and needs a car, needs whatever it is. We essentially are problem solvers. However, and look at it this way, we've all worked in a dealership, I assume, everyone on the call. So if you were not in the position of responsibility of manager and you had a problem, and say you started with your sales manager, I got a problem. Yeah, I'll take care of it. He doesn't take care of it. Then you go to the finance manager, whoever. He doesn't take care of it. Then the GSM, whoever, somebody. So the manager takes care of that problem. So what do you think happens the next time that person has an issue? He's going to go to the guy that helped them. And so the reason I bring that up is, as salespeople, we have to make sure we're there to help. Sometimes there's people, believe it or not, sometimes people are like, hey, I really had a great experience with buying a car. Do you know a laundry or do you know a washer repair guy? Because you connected with them that much. And guess what? You're like, you know what? I do. I sold them a van. Let me put you in touch with them. And then you start networking amongst one another, and that's where it grows. And we have planted so many seeds and we forgot to water the ground. That's the best, if that helps what what you guys are talking about. So
that resonated with me. Thank you for saying
that.
So again, back to, and I'm just going to say something that Doug left in the chat was, do we have managers or do we have leaders? And is that what is a challenge for the turnover in our industry? Are we actually leading our people, or are we just managing their numbers, their results?
Both.
And realistically, are we lifting our people, or are we condemning them? And one of the things that when we look at numbers, it typically is I remember the terms champ to chump, hero to zero. And those were things based on the sales board. I worked at a Toyota dealership, and I remember well that we had every single model on the road as a demonstrator, and the demonstrators were given to the salespeople to drive. The top person on the board got to pick the first car each month, and so on and all the way down. And the worst car on the board was a two-door metallic green automatic Toyota Tercel.
Turtles, yeah.
A turtle, yeah, it had a turtle, and with no air and vinyl interior.
I had one. I had one.
So I drove one. I drove one once. Never drove it again. But the whole thing was it was 0 to 0. The zero got treated that way, and now I was ranked in the top 100 people in Canada for sales. But guess what? I was driving to Charlotte once because I had a bad month. I had things happen to me that changed my dimensional thought, my attitude, my my ability to actually focus on my customers. Does that work? Is that putting you in a position where a guy like myself who doesn't have I have fortitude to turn around and say, hey, you know what? I'll work my way through it. But another guy that says, hey, I was the best person in this dealership for the last 6 months running. Now you got me driving to Tercel.
So
Suck on that. I'm leaving.
Peter, I wanted to just to kind of point a couple things to that. So for one, I think, yes, we have more managers than leaders. I think it's just the industry, like we are all, not just this industry, we're all scrambling to find help and to fill positions.
Sure.
So I think that's just a realist, that's just something that we're faced. But I also, wanted to point out, like what you talked about, that was a great incentive and program during that time. So now what is it, because we really don't give demos, what is it that we have to figure out what motivates? Like I have a core of people that are like, just give me the cash. Then I have the younger generation, they want their time. So how do you have to figure out the balance of the reward? Like I like if I can put out, I can tell you, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I got a 60-inch TV, this, that, and the other. My guys could care less, maybe one guy. So we have to figure out how to meet and motivate and incentivize based on the current times and maybe kind of personalize it a little bit, because not everything's going to be for everybody. But that also is the manager's responsibility. The manager has to know who he has, what his team is, and how to adapt. His job is to relay, okay, I need X amount for cash. I need to give this guy, I don't know, a bonus day, and I need to do this, this, and this. And then, in turn, that's like, in other words, what I'm saying is we have to think differently today, to incentivize different today, to still get the results we want. And yes, that can be achieved. However, if we're hiring managers, not leaders, and we're like, listen, we're all there's some, I can only speak for me as a dealer. Sometimes there's a desperation to fill a position, and like I need to fill it quickly, whatever the case is. So and every new broom sweeps clean. We all know that. But at the same point, the cultivating that, and we just have to keep, we can't. And I think a lot of us get frustrated, and whether we realize it or not, we give up. And we kind of keep pushing forward. And you have to just keep fighting, whether we, just and adapt. That's all I wanted to interject on that.
Agreed. So on that, Ron, a leader finds out the whys of its people. What is driving them? Why is it important to them? A manager goes and assimilates everything through numbers. And that to me is, you're right. There's the younger generation wants a life work balance. The older generation or mid generation might want cash. An older generation might say, hey, get me a new golf club, because I'm at the point of retiring and I want the new tailor-made driver that's $700. So it's finding out what their whys are, and that comes through with the one-on-ones, which the true one-on-ones is going to develop your team more cohesively and create that culture that is going to drive things together.
I think that exactly your point. Those are the conversations we need to have, and I don't know that if we're being honest.
Yep.
And even for hiring, listen, Larry's a recruiter, and in terms of when he's, hey, I got a guy, and I'm not putting this to the recruiter. I'm saying, but perhaps like knowing what Larry's hearing tonight, like how do you build a team? What's your, what's your idea? Like there's managers I think that just they don't know because they've been pressurized to put, meet the quotas, get the numbers. And we stop for a second because we're so focused on the numbers that the people, if our team's heads right, it's like a football team. If everybody's head screwed on right, you're going to win the game. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing with the sales. If everybody's heads in the game, we're gonna win. But again, sometimes and it's unfortunate because a manager sometimes can't help what an owner's, what they want. At the end of the day, we just want to sell cars and want to make money like everybody else. But
the great Woody Hayes.
Yeah. So I think that, like I said, sometimes, and even myself have to be more, aware of, okay, like, I have a sales manager and I work closely with them. Like, where are we at with the guys? How, have we set goals for them? Things like that. Well, he's under pressure because our numbers are, less than desirable. And it's not like us beating him up. He sees it for what it is. Like I'm not coming in both guns blazing. I don't have to because your report cards are right in front of you every day. And if it's blank, it's like getting an F. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's there.
Again, Ron, you're different. You're different. You're an anomaly in this business because most dealer principals would be looking at their sales managers and going, you had 3 Fs in a row. You flunked out of the class. You're going to another school. And that's the reality of it. We see it every day. And Larry's smiling every day because all he sees is green pucks on LinkedIn.
But here's to the point, like, and thank you for the compliment. But if my store doesn't continue to perform, it doesn't matter what I am. I'm not going to be there. So, right. You know what I'm saying? It's so, and I personally can't listen. The only way you're just getting directly fired and you're going to piss me off is if you're stealing or you harass an employee or have really, upset a customer that like,
or you drive a Chevy.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but, no, I don't care what they drive, but, or they come into the temp tag the next day. That pisses me off too. But anyway, that's another conversation. But my point is that, like I can't stand a thief and I can't stand somebody that would attempt to harass or sexually harass. I'm just not going to tolerate it. Those are non-negotiables. Now, with that being said, do I have to be more non-negotiable based on your performance? I think that kind of it just shows that's going to come out, that's going to come out by their attitude and where they're at. If that sales manager starts barking and screaming at everybody, that's going to go nowhere. So now I got to rein them in and say, listen, we need to change the outlook here because it's not working. Which in that case, I feel like, hey, they kind of fired themselves. But nonetheless, like I said, it's a very, and I'm only bringing it up because, like, yeah, I appreciate the compliment and everything, but at the same point, sometimes I feel like, especially in this state right now, the nice guys are finishing last, and I'm not, there's a whole nother thing that's going on out there that's out of our control, so on and so forth. But it is hard because guess what? Listen, even at the end of the day, when I walk in every morning, I still got to smile, I still got to high fives, I still got this, and I'm like, I am losing my ass. I'm like, I got cars that are sitting. I'm like, this is crazy. But
yeah,
we still
well,
gotta, we still have to put the fun face on, So
I know your pain. I've talked to enough people out there in the CDJR world that I hear you.
Hey guys, we're wrapping up. Don't forget to tune into Peter's show. He's got some dynamite guests tomorrow. Tell him what you got, Peter.
So tomorrow is Revving Up the Service Lane, and I have the one and only Ed Roberts. I have Lamont Harris and Joe Chambers joining me as amongst a number of other people. And then next Tuesday, I start a whole new series with Zach McVicker on the foundational building of a dealership from the ground up. So it's going to be very, very interesting. That'll be a LinkedIn Live event. So it'll be a lot of visuals, and we'll be providing collaterals before the event. So you'll have your homework. So it'll be a very unique style of doing things. So you'll be able to assess your own location versus what is the modern thought process. So that's going to be really, really unique. But I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. I also wanted to say that I want to put a big congratulations out to one of my main clients, which is Decosay. They were published in Automotive News this Monday, and their digital pricing platform is going to be a massive hit based on what feedback that we're getting. So it's really intense, and for cost for what it does, there's nothing out there that touches it. Not even paper. Paper doesn't even come close. So reach out to me on that, and I'll love to have a conversation. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's a real pleasure. Ron, I'm going to reach out to you. I have an opportunity for you that might work for you. So I'll reach out to you offline. All right.
Good night,
Great to see
everybody.
everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.